What really turns a man on? I'm not talking about surface level attraction or fleeting chemistry. I'm talking about the kind of desire that lingers, the kind that makes him think about you long after you've left the room. The truth is, it's not just about how you look, it's about how you make him feel. And once you understand the real triggers behind a man's desire, you stop chasing attention and start commanding it without even trying. When it comes to understanding what truly triggers a man's sexual desire, most people rush to physical appearance as the first explanation. And yes, visual attraction plays a role. Men are biologically wired to respond to what they see. But what gets overlooked far too often is that this kind of attraction can be fleeting. What sustains and intensifies sexual desire in a man is not just what he sees, it's what he feels. Specifically, it's how a woman makes him feel about himself when he's around her. That emotional layer is the real game changer. Think about it like this. A man can be surrounded by physically attractive women all day long. But the woman he becomes obsessed with, the one who stays on his mind, is the one who knows how to connect with him emotionally. She doesn't just look good, she makes him feel something different. She creates an emotional experience that triggers desire from within, not just on the surface. And it's that internal experience that makes a man crave more of her presence. This is not about manipulation or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about understanding that sexual desire is deeply tied to the way we feel when we're with someone. For a man, if being with a woman makes him feel like more of a man, if she brings out his confidence, his strength, his playfulness, even his protectiveness, he starts to associate her with a part of himself that he enjoys. And the more a man associates you with a feeling he likes having about himself, the more he desires you. It's subtle but powerful. Most women underestimate the power of emotional presence. A woman who listens with genuine interest, who responds with warmth, who laughs at his jokes, not because she's trying to flatter him, but because she's actually engaged, can unlock a level of attraction that's far deeper than anything physical. Men are not used to being emotionally seen. Society doesn't train them to express their inner world easily. So when a woman creates a space where they can relax and be themselves without fear of judgment, it disarms them. That vulnerability doesn't make a man weak in her eyes. It makes the connection stronger and the desire more intense. Also, consider how rare it is for a man to be around someone who is not trying to change him, fix him, or test him. A woman who simply sees him and reflects back the best parts of who he is, without criticism, without control, becomes a kind of mirror he doesn't get anywhere else. And that mirror becomes addictive. She's not giving him a checklist of what he has to be, she's appreciating who he already is. That appreciation, combined with the emotional warmth she brings, awakens a level of desire that goes way beyond the bedroom. He starts to feel like he's enough in her presence, and nothing is more attractive than that. So while physical attraction might get his attention, emotional connection is what makes him stay. It's what makes him think about her late at night. It's what makes him want to reach out again and again. Because in a world full of superficial interactions, the woman who can connect to his inner world triggers a desire that's not just sexual, it's deeply human. And that's the kind of desire that lasts. Confidence is one of the most magnetic qualities a woman can have when it comes to triggering a man's sexual desire. It's not about being loud, aggressive, or trying to dominate a room. It's about a quiet self-assuredness, a sense of knowing your worth without needing constant validation. This kind of energy shifts everything in how a man perceives and responds to a woman. Confidence changes the dynamics, tells him she's not there to chase approval, she's already approved of herself. And that creates an irresistible pull. When a woman walks into a room and she's comfortable in her own skin, it shows in 1,000 subtle ways. The way she moves, the way she holds eye contact, the way she speaks without rushing to fill silence. There's a presence about her that says, I belong here. She doesn't try to prove anything, and she doesn't shrink to make others more comfortable. That kind of woman is a rare find, and a man notices her before she even says a word. She becomes intriguing because she doesn't appear to need attention. She's simply open to it. Confidence is also about how a woman handles herself when things don't go perfectly. Maybe someone disagrees with her, or a moment gets awkward, or plans fall apart. A confident woman doesn't spiral. She laughs it off. She adapts. She's emotionally stable. And that stability is deeply attractive to men, especially in a world where so many people are emotionally reactive. A confident woman creates a sense of ease. She isn't trying to control everything or everyone around her. She's grounded. And that grounding becomes the very thing that makes a man want to step closer. There's also something deeply attractive about a woman who chooses rather than chases. When a woman is confident, she doesn't throw herself at a man in hopes of being liked. She's selective. She observes. She's open, but not desperate. That selectiveness, when it comes from a genuine place, tells a man that she values herself, and that makes him value her even more. He sees that she's not available to just anyone. She's not trying to win him, she's letting him earn her. And that flips a switch in a man's psychology. He stops thinking about what he can get and starts thinking about what he can offer. Confidence also makes intimacy more exciting. A woman who knows what she wants, who isn't afraid to express desire or set boundaries, brings a different kind of energy into the dynamic. She's not waiting to be chosen. She's choosing. She's not trying to be perfect. She's being real. And that authenticity, paired with self-respect, turns the sexual experience from something transactional into something deeply engaging. A confident woman brings her whole self to the moment, her playfulness, her curiosity, her presence, and that depth draws a man in fully. Men are naturally drawn to challenges that feel rewarding. A confident woman isn't a game, but she is a kind of beautiful paradox. She's warm, but not needy. She's open, but not desperate. She's kind, but she won't tolerate disrespect. She sets the tone for how she wants to be treated, and she does it without ever raising her voice. That strength, when combined with softness, creates a cocktail of desire that few men can resist. It makes them feel like they're in the presence of someone who truly knows her value. And that kind of woman is unforgettable. There's something incredibly powerful about the space between knowing and not knowing, between what's said and what's left unsaid. That space is where attraction lives, where curiosity gets stirred and where desire begins to grow. Playful tension and flirty mystery don't just make interactions more fun, they create an emotional experience that men find intoxicating. When a woman knows how to dance in that space, when she can hold her ground without revealing everything all at once, she becomes endlessly interesting. She invites a man into a journey instead of handing him the final destination right away. The truth is, many people rush into connections. They overshare, they over-explain, they try to fast-treat intimacy. But what actually makes someone desirable is not how much you give, it's how intentionally you reveal. A woman who allows a man to slowly discover who she is creates an unfolding story. Every conversation feels like a chapter, and every interaction leaves him wanting to turn the page. It's not about being distant or cold, it's about being intentional. It's about offering just enough to spark interest while still holding on to something for later. That restraint doesn't shut down attraction, it fuels it. Flirtation is another layer of this dynamic. It's not just about compliments or eye contact, it's about energy, a flirty tone, a teasing smile, a playful pause before answering. All of it creates tension, but it's not aggressive or overwhelming. It's subtle. It's suggestive without being obvious. It's a game of, I see you, but I'm not handing myself over just yet. That back and forth makes a man lean in, literally and emotionally. He becomes curious not just about your body, but about your mind. He wants to figure you out, to understand what makes you tick. This kind of tension makes the experience of getting to know someone unforgettable, because now it's not just about whether there's a spark. It's about chasing the spark. That's something many people don't realize. Men enjoy the process of pursuit, not in a manipulative sense, but in a natural, instinctive one. When a woman allows space for that pursuit to unfold, she's not playing hard to get. She's simply not giving everything away for free. She values her story, her time, her energy, and that quiet self-respect makes a man feel like he's part of something rare. Mystery also speaks to a deeper psychological trigger. When something is too easy to get, the brain quickly categorizes it and moves on. But when there's unpredictability, when something feels a little uncertain or out of reach, it keeps the mind engaged. It forces the brain to keep processing, wondering, imagining. That's why mystery and flirtation are so tied to desire. They create a loop that keeps someone mentally involved long after the moment ends. A man might leave a conversation still thinking about her laugh, the way she looked at him, or that thing she almost said but didn't. And that intrigue becomes emotional glue. The goal isn't to manipulate, but to invite discovery. A woman who doesn't rush to fill every silence, who's okay with pauses, who holds eye contact without nervously breaking it, who knows that a little bit of playfulness can say more than 100 serious words. She brings something fresh into the room. She doesn't need to be shocking or dramatic. She just knows how to let a moment breathe, how to let interest build, and how to make sure that the emotional and sexual rhythm stays alive. In a world full of people looking for instant connection, she becomes the slow burn he can't stop thinking about. There's a powerful difference between feeling needed and feeling wanted. Most men won't articulate it this way, but it plays a huge role in what ignites their sexual desire. When a man feels needed, it often comes with pressure or responsibility. It can feel like he's being depended on to fill a void, solve a problem, or prove something. But when a man feels wanted, when he senses that a woman is choosing him because she genuinely desires him, not because she needs something from him, it strikes a completely different emotional chord. That's when he feels chosen, valued, and desired in a way that lights him up from the inside out. Many people unintentionally blur the line between needing and wanting. They think that relying on someone emotionally or making that person the center of their world will make them feel special. But what actually happens is the opposite. That kind of dependence can feel heavy. It signals that the other person's happiness is conditional, tied to what the man does or doesn't do. It doesn't inspire desire, it creates a sense of obligation. Men, like anyone, want to be loved, but they also want the freedom to give that love on their own terms. That freedom is what makes their affection meaningful. Now, contrast that with a woman who has her own life, her own passions, her own sense of fulfillment. She doesn't approach a man like he's the missing piece of her identity. She approaches him as someone who could add to an already full life. That energy is magnetic. When a man sees that a woman isn't waiting around for someone to give her worth or happiness, it changes everything. He doesn't feel burdened, he feels invited. Invited into a space where connection is mutual, not transactional. Where he can bring something to the table without being expected to fix anything. Desire is born from choice. When a man feels like he's being chosen rather than needed, he becomes more present. He leans in because he feels seen for who he is, not for what he can provide. This kind of woman shows him that she's not afraid to stand on her own, but she's choosing not to. And that choice, when it comes from a place of strength, makes him feel alive. It makes him want to earn her attention, to give her his best, to become a version of himself that matches the quality of energy she brings. This dynamic also fuels physical intimacy. When a woman makes a man feel wanted, not just emotionally but physically, without it being rooted in neediness, it wakes something up in him. He doesn't feel like he's filling a role. He feels like he's being invited into her space, her body, her world. That invitation is powerful. It tells him that his presence is appreciated, not required, that she's confident enough to stand alone, but still open enough to share herself. And that balance of independence and openness creates a tension that naturally builds desire. It's not about pretending not to care. It's not about being aloof or distant. It's about showing a man that your desire for him comes from abundance, not lack. That you're not hoping he'll rescue you from loneliness or boredom. You're simply drawn to him because something about him sparks excitement, attraction, and connection. And when he feels that kind of organic, pressure-free pull, he doesn't just feel flattered, he feels turned on, because there's nothing more attractive than being wanted by someone who doesn't need you but still chooses you anyway. One of the most underestimated triggers of a man's sexual desire is feeling genuinely appreciated and admired. It's not something most men talk about openly, but the impact it has is massive. In a world where expectations are high and emotional validation is rare, being seen and valued by a woman he's attracted to hits differently. It's not just about stroking his ego. It's about activating something deep in his masculine identity. When a man feels appreciated for who he is and what he brings to the table, it builds emotional intimacy, and that intimacy becomes the foundation for deeper sexual desire. When men are constantly navigating a silent pressure to perform, to succeed, to provide, to protect, to be strong, it's a role they're expected to play without complaint. But underneath that, they're still human. They still crave connection, affirmation, and recognition. When a woman takes the time to notice the things he does, the effort he puts into his work, how he handles challenges, how he shows up for people, it does more than just make him feel good. It tells him he matters, that he's enough. And that message is powerful, especially when it comes from someone he's drawn to. This kind of appreciation isn't about over-the-top praise or flattery. It's about being specific, sincere, and emotionally tuned in. Telling a man, "I really admire how focused you are," or "I love the way you take care of people without even thinking about it," lands differently than generic compliments. It makes him feel seen in a way that most people overlook. That emotional visibility creates connection, and once that connection is there, it opens the door for physical desire to flow naturally. He begins to associate her presence with feeling like the best version of himself. Admiration also triggers a man's desire to give more. When a woman makes him feel appreciated, he's motivated to invest even further into the relationship. He wants to do more, show up more, impress her more. It becomes a cycle. Her appreciation fuels his effort, and his effort fuels her attraction. This loop strengthens emotional intimacy, which naturally deepens sexual chemistry. It's not just about physical touch, it's about the energy behind it. The more a man feels like he's winning with a woman, the more he desires her, because she's not just someone he's attracted to, she's someone who brings out his greatness. There's also a unique kind of vulnerability in receiving admiration. When a man feels admired, especially in moments when he's not trying to be impressive, it softens him. It strips away the mask he wears in the world and brings him into a space of authenticity. And when a man feels safe enough to be real around a woman, his guard drops. That's when sexual desire becomes deeper and more connected. He's not just reacting to how she looks, he's responding to how she makes him feel. He feels emotionally naked before he even touches her physically, and that kind of intimacy creates unforgettable moments. Many women underestimate how much power their words and presence hold. They think they need to impress a man or keep him interested through effort, but often it's the simplest things that go the furthest. A look of admiration when he's talking about something he's passionate about, a light touch when he shares a vulnerable story, a quiet thank you when he shows up for her in some small way. These are the moments that build emotional equity. And over time, that emotional buildup becomes sexual tension. Because for a man, being admired by a woman he's attracted to doesn't just make him feel confident, it makes him feel desired. And once he feels desired on that emotional level, physical desire isn't far behind. One of the most overlooked yet powerful triggers of a man's sexual desire is emotional safety. On the surface, that might sound more like something out of a therapy session than a spark of attraction, but the truth is, a man cannot fully open himself sexually, deeply and meaningfully if he doesn't feel safe emotionally. This kind of safety doesn't mean coddling him or avoiding conflict. It means creating an environment where he doesn't feel judged, belittled, or constantly measured against impossible standards. It means being the kind of presence that allows him to drop his guard, take off the mask, and just be. When a man feels emotionally safe, his desire doesn't just stay on the surface. It sinks in and roots itself. In the world he lives in, a man is often expected to be stoic, unshakable, always together. He's supposed to lead, to decide, to provide, to be strong even when he's exhausted. That pressure doesn't turn off when he steps into a relationship. If anything, it can intensify. So when he meets a woman who doesn't add to that pressure, who sees beyond the exterior and makes space for his inner world, he feels something rare. She becomes someone he can exhale around. And that exhale, that emotional release, becomes the doorway to deeper physical connection. Because he's not just connecting with her body, he's connecting with her energy, her calm, her warmth. Most people associate safety with comfort, but in the context of desire, safety isn't boring, it's electric. Because when a man feels emotionally safe, he becomes more expressive, more curious, more playful, more vulnerable. He's not distracted by self-protection. He can be present. And presence is everything when it comes to real intimacy. When a man is with a woman who doesn't make him feel like he's being constantly analyzed or picked apart, he relaxes, he opens up. And when he opens up, his desire naturally intensifies, because now he's not just reacting with instinct, he's responding with emotion. This emotional safety also builds trust, and trust makes everything more exciting. In that kind of space, a man feels free to explore, not just physically, but emotionally. He can talk about what excites him, what scares him, what drives him. And in return, she listens, not to fix, not to critique, but to understand. That kind of listening is rare, and it doesn't go unnoticed. When a man feels truly understood by a woman, it activates a different part of him. He doesn't just see her as attractive, he sees her as safe to desire. That distinction matters, because desire without safety is shallow and short-lived. But desire built on trust and emotional ease, that's the kind that sticks. Emotional safety also fosters honesty, and honesty is wildly attractive. When a man can say what he really feels, express what he actually wants, without fear of ridicule or rejection, he starts to connect from a more authentic place. And when he feels free to be honest, he also becomes more confident. Because he's not walking on eggshells, he knows where he stands. That confidence feeds into how he touches, how he speaks, how he shows up. The sexual energy becomes more alive, more connected, and far more satisfying, not just for him, but for her as well. A woman who brings emotional safety into the relationship doesn't have to try hard to be desirable. Her presence does the work for her. She becomes the person he thinks about when life gets overwhelming. She becomes the place his mind goes when he's seeking relief, excitement, or comfort. And when that happens, his desire for her is no longer just physical. It's emotional, magnetic, and fun-gettable. When it comes to triggering a man's sexual desire, it's not just about looks or surface-level charm. It's about the deeper emotional and psychological experiences you create. It's the confidence that radiates without words, the mystery that invites curiosity, the playful tension that keeps things alive. It's the difference between needing someone and truly wanting them. It's about showing appreciation that speaks to his core and offering the kind of emotional safety that lets him be fully himself. When a woman embodies these qualities, she doesn't just attract a man, she captivates him. His desire for her isn't fleeting or shallow. It's rooted in how she makes him feel. Desired, respected, seen, and chosen. And that's what makes the connection not only powerful, but unforgettable.